Welcome to the Health by Haven podcast. I'm your host, Haven Quinlan. If you're a multi-passionate wellness enthusiast, then you're in the right place. I'm obsessed with learning as much as I can about the wellness world, and I want to share that with you. Each episode will dive into various aspects of health and wellness through inspiring and informative guest interviews with some solo episodes thrown in. Tune in for all things health, and let's have some fun, shall we? Gaylene Gomez is a nutrition and wellness coach and supports women who want to have more energy. She shows them how to nourish their body with the power of food and simple lifestyle changes and choices so they can feel strong, healthy, and vibrant. Using holistic approaches, Gaylene works with clients in prioritizing their 4 pillars of health so they can create balance and feel supported by a strong foundation. I'm so thrilled to get to chat with you today, Gaylene. Thank you so much for joining us on the Health by Haven podcast.
Thank you for having me, Haven. It's so good to be here.
So to kick things off, I want to go way back. I'm very curious how you became interested in the world of health and wellness.
Yeah, it's all such a journey, isn't it? When you say, like, let's go way back, because it absolutely does go way back. And I don't think any of us land here just because we've all been through our journey. So I started in health as a registered massage therapist, and I was fortunate. I traveled the world as a massage therapist, working in beautiful spas in the Caribbean and the Middle East and all over the place.
Wow.
And I started to suffer a little bit more in my own health, digestive wise, and I got a bug in the Caribbean that got stuck in my tummy, what that turns into. And the more that I was trying to learn about my own health, I very much felt that everybody needs to know this stuff, right? There are some really basic things I wasn't doing for my own health nutrition wise that I needed, and really understanding of the fuel my body needed to thrive. And I was living this amazing life, but I was exhausted a lot of the time. I was, staying up too late, and I wasn't eating good quality food, and I was overwhelmed, and I was just doing all of these things that really drained me. And as I got sick, then everything just multiplied. Recovering from a busy day at work meant 2 to 3 days to recover. My energy was just really depleted. And so I finally saw a nutritionist myself as a client, learned as much as I could. I started implementing everything I was learning and was really just blown away that I decided to go to school for it. And in learning all of those things, as I mentioned, I thought everybody needs to know this stuff. I would be just telling people whether they cared or not. Did you know that this and this happens? And it really led me to have some bigger conversations with even massage clients and people that I was encountering, and realizing the passion behind it was there to share this knowledge on a bigger level. And so as I kind of navigated my own health and figuring things out, I started building out a platform to share it and communicate with women that needed it and wanted it, and had also been through some of their own health journeys. I wanted to share what I was learning as I went. And that's now years ago. And so over the years, I have grown to the point where my entire business is focused on health and nutrition coaching. And I specialize in working with women that are just overwhelmed, and also over the whole diet culture, right? That whole mentality of restriction and guilt and shame. And they want to learn how to fuel their body differently and learn how to actually feel good in their body and build out their energy. And I've done that for myself. So I feel like it's something that I can share. We can live our life more fully than many people are by fueling our body better.
Oh, I just love that sentiment. I feel like we're cut from the same cloth as far as like discovering these things of what we can do personally, like ourselves, to feel better every single day and to feel more energy. And it's just baffling to me that we don't learn these things in like elementary school growing up. And so, when I started to discover these things for myself, same thing as you. It sounds like I was like telling everyone, oh my gosh, do you know these things are going to like change your life? They're going to make you feel so much better. So I love to hear that you were in the same boat with that as well. And you mentioned you went to school to learn even more about it. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I currently live in Canada. I am Canadian, but at the time I was living abroad. I was in the Caribbean, and I was really trying to get more knowledge. And I found that the internet is so full of mixed information, right? You can pretty much find anything you're looking for. If you're looking to see if, you know, kiwis are bad for you, you'll find something that says they are. If you're looking for something that says kiwis are good for you, there's something they are. I don't know why kiwi just popped in my head, but um, it really works like that. There's so much mixed information. And so it really drove me to want to get to the root of it. And so I was lucky enough to find a Canadian school that I was able to access while I still lived in the Caribbean and do it remotely to start my journey that way. And from when I started, I then moved back to Canada a few years later and continued the journey. Once I dove in, it was so fascinating that I dove into more gut health and took up some different specialties and got involved in other places. But the journey has been really endless. I've now been in this field for over 10 years.
Wow. Okay. So going from school and learning everything, which I'm sure was
Yeah.
just like so interesting to learn, the why behind all of it. Then how did you get to now? I know that you have your own business, your own practice. So what were the
Mm.
steps like kind of from start to then?
Yeah, so in the beginning, because again, I was working as a massage therapist and I was working in resort settings that I was meeting people honestly from all over the world. And so it really was interesting that I would meet them maybe while they were on holiday in the Caribbean. They would go home and I would stay in touch with them. And so this is before everything started going online during COVID. And so at that time, I would be in a different country than people who wanted to work with me. And then they would, talk to their friend, or I would meet someone from different places. So I ended up starting my business working with clients in different places in Canada, in Europe, in the US. And so I was kind of forced into figuring out a way to do that. So I never really set up that one-to-one in-person practice. I ended up starting that one-to-one online practice and learning and growing it in a way that I could reach people all over. It didn't matter where they lived. And I found that part really fascinating as well. And it was so nice for these women. I specialize in women in their 40s and their 50s who are really kind of at that stage of their life. Like I said, they want to move into away from those diets. And so it was really nice to have them actually in a group together as well, have them in a community together where they didn't need to know each other or live near each other and they could still support. And so I built out a few different versions of online programs. I have a monthly membership. I also have a group coaching program where we get together weekly, and I offer private coaching as well. So there's a couple different ways to work with me in this to the way that I can support these women all over. Like I said, it doesn't matter where they lived, we could get together and do it. And so I had a big learning curve ahead of me in not only just the nutrition side, but in how to set up a business that could work the way that I wanted it to. And then when I moved back to Canada, I didn't know where if I was going to stay in that same town for long. So I wasn't in a position to, set up and do all my marketing and so forth in one area. I wanted it to be able to reach women all over.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you were ahead of the curve for COVID. It worked out pretty well then, I guess, if most of your business was online.
Yeah, it kind of had to be just the way that I was, living my life and trying to market myself and find clients and also serve the women that I did know. They lived all over the place. So it did work out. It was nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And I love the group coaching aspect where those women could then form friendships that, if you're in another country, like how else would you meet them? So that's kind of nice to have, somebody to
Yeah.
walk alongside during kind of a journey of a health focus or maybe a shift in mindset. So do you find that you have a lot of people who really prefer that group setting?
Yeah, actually, I do. In the beginning, I wasn't so sure because it's hard to personalize things for each client. And so
Hmm.
the way that I've now built my business is that most of my clients take part in my membership community and be part of that. And I have private coaching available for them as and when they need it. And so it gives us that way of giving that more personalized touch, or I can dive more specifically into their needs. And as a group, there's a lot of things over time that people are going through the journey together, right? When there's a health crisis or a political thing, or there's just a seasonal change, right? We're shifting from summer back to fall. We have to remember a lot of people are going through the same thing. And whether you're going from summer holidays back to more of a routine, or if it's a mom that has kids in school, kind of this period of time, things shift, or in the spring or the new year. And so there's always opportunities to get together and find something that everybody has in common that they may be dealing with when it comes to stress or season or relationships or health or cold weather. There's always something that we can connect on. I offer a lot of trainings. We'll probably talk a little bit about it, but I focus on 4 different pillars of health. And so, for example, this past month has really been on meal planning and so forth on the nutrition side. But next month, we're shifting to sleep. And that's also another common ground that is important that gets worked on. And so it's something that everybody can relate to is getting good quality sleep being a necessity for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, since you brought it up, because that was on my list as well to talk about, I know that you've mentioned the 4 pillars of health that you talk to your clients about. So I would love to actually dive a little bit deeper into those.
Yeah. So this, and I'll put maybe like a little bit of background as well as to why this came about. So remember that I was a massage therapist, which in many cases you're working with people that are really stressed. By the time by the time someone makes time to get a massage, they're either really stressed or they have pain or they have something going on. And so when I work on that kind of physical ailment or that stress ailment, I would often find something missing, right? Maybe they're not exercising enough, or maybe they're not sleeping very well. They're not managing their stress very well. And then when I started studying nutrition, you can eat healthy food all day, every day. But if you're not sleeping well, or you're not exercising well, or you're not managing your stress, you're still not going to reach your ultimate health goal, right? You're going to still struggle. And they're also interconnected. And so for example, if you don't sleep well, you're not going to wake up and make a healthy breakfast. You're not going
Hmm.
to hit the gym. And probably by the middle of the afternoon, you're turning to caffeine or sugar or something like that to fuel your body for the day ahead. So as I started working with more and more women, I was really identifying these common pieces of the puzzle that would be missing. And so now in my health coaching, I make sure that we include all of them. And I bring in guest experts and I do continuing education on all of these topics to make sure that we don't have gaps. And so the 4 pillars then is nutrition, nourishment. It's what we're putting in our body, but not in the way of that restriction and guilt, right? It's not on the amount of calories. It's really on nourishing our body and making sure that we're getting all the vitamins and minerals and nutrients that we need to thrive. And so that is an important piece of the puzzle. But again, if we just do that alone, there's other pieces missing. So then the second piece is movement. I don't know how you are, Haven, if you spend a lot of time sitting at your desk. I definitely do.
Hmm.
And sometimes I can sit at my desk for way too many hours in a row without
Yeah.
actually moving my body. And I know that it's really important for my health. And so we really need to make sure that we're also getting our blood flowing and our heart pumping and
Hmm.
delivering those nutrients around our body, right? So I include movement. Pillar 3 then is the sleep. So sleep, again, you could be doing everything else really well, but if you're only getting a couple hours of sleep at night, you're not setting yourself up for long-term health. So that is an important piece. And then pillar 4 is, I say mindset, or we could replace the word just with stress. It's really about having the tools in our tool belt to manage everything that gets thrown your way in life, right? Whether it's illness or family stuff or money or relationships, whatever it is, we need to make sure that we are handling it well and actively working on navigating all of those other pieces well.
Hmm.
So, for example, if we are super, super busy and we stay up until midnight and we're watching the news and flipping the channels and only getting bombarded with bad stuff, it's affecting our sleep. It's also affecting our stress. And then it's all
Hmm.
interconnected. So those 4 pillars I dive into with all of my clients. And oftentimes when we fix one piece of the puzzle, the other improves as well. I don't know how many times I've heard women come to me saying, Gaylene, I eat really healthy and I still can't lose weight. Or, I exercise all the time and I'm really, really tired, or whatever the complaint is. there's usually one of these pillars that is a gap. And so we focus on all of them to make sure that we actually are making forward progress in their journey and in their health.
I love that you have those four pillars because I think, you know, we kind of grow up to believe like it's all about what you eat or it's all about how much you're exercising every single day. And I think, at least for me, those are like the two main things that come to mind. But you're right, sleep and mindset or stress management is certainly just as important. And I'm sure that everyone struggles with one maybe more than the other, and it maybe depends on the season of life that they're in. But I would say, you know, I love to eat healthy foods because I truly think they're delicious. I love to work out because it's such a release for me. For me, it's making sure I'm getting in bed because I get up early, and the stress management for sure. Juggling just all the responsibilities in life. That's definitely the challenge for me. So I love that you're honing in on those as well. I have to
Yeah.
believe that I'm not the only person who's struggling with those things, who just maybe doesn't realize how much it's affecting how they feel every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it changes as we're in different, not even stages of life, but different weeks of our life, right? In the summertime, maybe. So I live in Canada and it can get really cold here in the winter. So maybe if I love to exercise outside in the summer, that habit goes away on those really cold days. Or maybe there's a particular thing that happens in our life where sleep's really good most of the time, but whenever this goes on, I have a bad sleep. And so it's also important that we reassess on ourselves regularly. And I was actually just speaking with a client the other day who is really trying to work on the sleep pillar. That is something that she's been struggling with. And we've actually been working together for years. And what she's noticed is she'll do really good for a period of time in all categories. And then when she stops sleeping, she doesn't get up early. And that's when she likes to get her workout in.
Mm-hmm.
So when her sleep is affected, it immediately stops her morning workouts. And when she loses her morning workouts, she's kind of crabby for the day. And she's
Mm-hmm.
noticed this about herself. And so when even though we've worked together for years, she'll be in a good routine, fall out of the routine. She might be traveling or something changes in life or at work, fall out of your routine. And we need to kind of identify what's not working again. And and it's connecting those dots, right? And figuring out what it is for you personally. And so for her, she's like, I don't know why I'm in a bad mood all the time. Well, we connect the dots and we found out what it is. And then we have something specific to work on. And now we know what to improve. And then it all gets back on track again.
Yeah, that's great. And that's what's so great about working with a health coach too. They can like come in and look at it objectively because I mean, guilty. I am definitely crabby if I miss my workout. So I can relate to that client as well.
Yeah. I'm crabby when I miss my sleep.
There you
That's more.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If my sleep suffers, even one night, but especially if it's a couple nights in a row, then I just don't function well. I'm not making smart decisions. I'm not really enjoying life as I should be. And extra sleep sure makes a difference for me. So we all have our thing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to know. And I mean, it could be very overwhelming if you feel like you're struggling in all those areas and you're just like trying to keep your head above water and you're not feeling good to figure out like, where do I even start? What do I do? So when you have a client come to you like that, how do you normally start to identify those things and tackle them? And is there maybe like one pillar that you feel like is more common, or is it totally just dependent on the
Yeah.
person?
I do actually have both a process of what I do for my clients, and there's definitely some pieces that are more common for sure. So I actually have a quiz, and maybe Haven, you can share this with
Oh,
everybody. And the
yeah, I could
quiz is
link
going to
it.
be about figuring out which pillar to work on because what happens as a health coach, we could say, sure, eat healthy and exercise and make sure you go to bed early and make sure you drink enough water and it can be really overwhelming. And
Hmm.
so when we try and figure out what is that one thing that's going to make the biggest difference, it's different for me than it is for Haven, right? You said you like to prioritize exercise. For me, I have to kind of pinch myself and be like, go exercise. And so um, when we think about what is that one thing, I have a quiz that actually helps you figure out what is the one thing for you, right? What is the one thing that you're maybe really good at, you probably prioritize it every day because you like doing it. But there's
Mm-hmm.
probably something that you don't like doing as much or that tends to get in the way. And so my quiz will actually help you figure out what that is. So which pillar. And then in that pillar, I give you a 3-step plan. So there'll be something within those 3 steps. So for example, I have a particular client in mind who definitely struggles on the nutrition side. She works in a really busy office. She's go, go, go. She has young kids. She comes home and they're in between school and sports and different things like that. And so it's easy to just grab a pizza. Everyone's happy
Mm-hmm.
with that answer and they eat quick and get back to life. And so nutrition is definitely a piece for her. But instead of stepping in and trying to revamp that kind of family evening, we approached it in the sense of what could she do earlier in the day that's still setting her up for success. So let's look at your breakfasts and what can you do in advance, and let's look at what you're packing for food to take to the office. Anyways, over time, she actually started this new healthy eating started overflowing into her teenage kids, and they noticed her healthier habits and that she was making these delicious smoothies and that she was eating these different things. And she's noticed that her whole family's habits have shifted from just pizza to actually making, healthy energy balls as snacks and things like that. So kind of long answer to the question, when we think about which pillar it is that that person needs help with, we try and figure out something that's going to work for them, a little thing
Mm-hmm.
that's going to make a big difference for you where you're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, instead of having to feel like you have to do all the things, the quiz will help you figure out a little thing. But I also have a couple exercises to guide you through and help figure that out. Would you like to go through a little exercise?
Yes, I would love
Yep.
that.
Okay. So when you think about these 4 pillars, and I'll try and keep this just really brief. And so I'll show Haven, but if you're not watching on video, basically just take a little piece of paper and draw it into 4 quadrants. And you can do a category of each pillar. So do one that's nutrition, one that's movement, one that's sleep, and one that's mindset. Go through each of those 4 pillars and do a self-assessment as to how have you been on that pillar in the last, say, 7 to 10 days. So if we say on the nutrition pillar, just be honest. How healthy have you been eating in this last week? Have you mostly been eating 3 meals a day, full of veggies, healthy snacks, not snacking in the middle of the night or eating, Captain Crunch for breakfast or generally eating healthy? Then you're going to give yourself a score between 1 and 10, 10 being a high score. And a 1 being, I ate chips and donuts all week and didn't really eat anything green. 10 being I ate perfect all week. So you're probably not going to be a 1 or a 10, but you're
Mm-hmm.
going to give yourself a score of a number somewhere between there. And then we would repeat the process for each pillar. So under movement, the last 7 to 10 days, how much have you actually been exercising? And are you getting a variety? Are you getting some cardio and some strength? Are you just, barely remembering to take the stairs instead of the elevator? So giving yourself a score between 1 and 10 as to how well have you been exercising this last week? Getting a variety, getting your heart pumping, really getting that effort in. And a lot of times people will say, oh, well, normally I work out all the time, but this week has been extra hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want you to do it just based on this week, because we could do it again next week and you'll have different answers. So
Mm-hmm.
do the same for, sleep and mindset. We're giving ourselves a score on all of these pillars and then looking at your score, picking out the lowest answer, and that would be a great place to start. So if
Okay.
you score yourself in the sleep category as the 3, you had terrible
Mm-hmm.
sleep for the last week, then don't worry too much about exercise and nutrition for these next couple days. Just get yourself some really good quality rest, and that will turn things around. Yeah, if your mindset or your stress one is low, then work on that. Just work on that. Just focus on that thing for a couple of days. Check in, do the same exercise again in a week from now, and see how you are.
I don't know about the people listening, but I feel like you just gave me like permission to like chill out a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're right that everything you see on social or in the health realm is like this and this and this and this. And it's not always possible, when people have jobs or kids or other responsibilities in life. And like that's such a way to boil it down so simply. It's like which of these one of these four things is what you're going to focus on the next few days. Like just one thing. You're not
Mhm.
your whole life is not going to collapse if you don't exercise for 2 days straight because you need that extra hour of sleep and vice
Yeah.
versa. So that's just such great advice. I love it.
Yeah, and when we work on that thing, chances are you'll actually pick up the rest of those pillars as well. So using the example you gave, let's say you do skip exercise for the next couple days, just give yourself permission to do it. Get some good sleep. You're probably going to have more energy to be able to feel good when you exercise, as opposed to it feeling really forced anyways.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that it's all connected because you're right. Then once you start to feel better in one realm, like you stated before, then you may have the more energy to go exercise, or you may not be having these crazy roller coaster sugar cravings and you want to take the moment to make yourself a nice balanced meal instead. And so, and it snowballs in a good way as well. It's not only a negative snowball.
Yeah, I challenge everybody to look at how these are all interconnected in your own life, right? We know ourselves better than anybody, but in most cases, we can look at our life and say, okay, my low pillar is movement. So how is that actually affecting me? How is that affecting me? Am I not at my ideal weight because I'm not exercising? Am I not getting enough fresh air? Is my dog not getting enough walking? Or maybe I could use this time as quality time with my husband or a friend or the neighbor. Maybe it could actually improve your social life if you join a gym or whatever it is. Look at how not prioritizing this pillar is affecting your life and your health. And think about if you do improve upon this pillar, how is that going to affect and improve your health as well? Because then that will help give the motivation to actually do it.
Absolutely. And I think that, it affects your health obviously, but it also affects the people around you. Like you said, if you're crabby from not taking care of yourself, that's not going to positively affect the people around you. I know some people think it's selfish to spend that time on themselves, but it's really not. And actually, back to the client you were talking about who their children saw them eating healthy. I recorded with somebody yesterday who was saying something similarly. She was like, my kids watched me go out and exercise every day when they were little kids, and that was just a habit that was ingrained in them. So even if you can't find it in yourself to do it for you, maybe you can find it in yourself to do it for the people around you that you love.
Absolutely. Be, a better version of me. And there's so many of those different sayings, right? It's put your own oxygen on first in the plane or
Yeah.
pour from a full cup. If I'm not my best self, then I'm not being the best version of me for my family and my friends. We want to do all the things and fulfill all of the roles that we choose to be as women, but we can't just burn ourselves out on the way to get there. It's not going to work out the way that we want it to if we overcommit and overwhelm. And kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. When I was first studying nutrition and I was trying to figure out the direction I was going to go with it, it was really overwhelming to figure out what's best, right? I'm saying it in quotations of what's best, this diet or that diet. And really, what's best for me might not be what's best for you. And so, really personalizing it and adding these other lifestyle pillars in has made such a difference. But if we take away the overwhelm of all the things on the internet and all the mixed messaging that's out there, then it also gives us, like you said, that permission to feel like I'm doing the best I can with what I have, with what's
Hmm.
going on in my life right now.
Yes, I love it. Okay, I want to shift focus a little bit because
Sure.
in my prep, I was taking a look at your Instagram, which we'll definitely link below, but I saw you have a lot of recipe inspo on there. And so I'm just curious if recipe development is something you love and maybe you could share like some of your favorite things to make.
Yeah. So I am very much a person that likes to throw things together. And that is traditionally how I have cooked for myself because I was a very picky eater. I didn't like a lot of different things. And as I started traveling, my taste buds changed, or maybe I only had access to certain foods, but then I would need to tweak it to make it something that suited me. If I was going to eat this, long term, then here's how I like it. And so, recipe development or recipes itself is something absolutely I do a lot of work on this with my clients, but more so, what I do is actually help my clients figure out something that's going to work for them. So, for example, we'll take a look at the different things on your plate. How can we improve upon it? If you're eating just a bowl of pasta, then how can we improve upon that? Where is, making sure we're getting our healthy fats and our vegetables and all of the different vitamins and minerals, nutrients. So I work with my clients on figuring out the carb and the protein and the healthy fats and creating balance on our plate in a way that does actually fuel our body. And that
Mm-hmm.
was one of the key things that made a big difference in my own health journey was figuring out how to tweak the meals to make them healthier that actually made me still feel good. I have some eating sensitivities, some different food sensitivities that are uncomfortable. And when you just pick a random recipe, I'm like, oh, I can't eat that. Or my client would say, oh, that doesn't work for me. So, more importantly, then I tell them, take it as a base and let's
Mm-hmm.
make it work for you. Let's do a food swap. Or what could we do to make it a little bit healthier? Or what could we do to make your family actually enjoy it? And figure out how we can go from just the idea of this particular food to really creating it to be something that's nourishing our body and something that we can eat maybe in rotation, but on a fairly regular basis.
I love that. I love to like healthify a meal,
Yeah.
that's still maybe a comfort food because healthy eating is not sustainable if there's no flavor and it doesn't
Yeah.
taste good. You're not going to be excited to cook it, especially at the end of the day after a long day, when you just are tired and you want food. So I think that's great advice to like look at what you're already making and then how can you tweak it versus like,
Mhm.
opening up a recipe book and being like, I'm going to make every single thing in here and nothing
Yeah.
that I used to cook.
Right. And it's overwhelming to do it that way. It can create a lot of food waste. It
Hmm.
can get really expensive. And so my focus is really on helping women create something that's sustainable in your life. We will come up with our favorites of things that are just ongoing in your life, things that are easy to make. Your family will eat it. A lot of my clients have been through so many diets that whenever they say, oh, I'm working with a new health coach, their husband or their spouse or their kids even will roll their eyes and be like, oh, mom's on a diet again. We're
Hmm.
going to be punished with all this weird food for the next how long until she quits the diet. My goal for my women is to not do that really ever again. Let's actually create things that you can go on and eat and your family enjoys, your kids and your partner, and it's something that you actually will eat and remember how to make it. And so maybe it's taking a recipe as a starting point. If you don't feel very creative in the kitchen, it's here's a recipe idea, and people can look at it and say, oh, this looks good, but I can't eat this or I don't like this. And we'll look at it and actually figure out a way to make it workable for them.
Yeah, I love it. The swaps are doable. I think people feel like the recipe is like the end all be all, but I love adding the swaps in.
Yeah,
So that's great.
absolutely.
Especially if you have like veggies in the fridge you got to use before they go bad. Just toss them all in a bowl or something.
Yeah, I actually just had to throw away a cucumber. I eat a lot of
Oh
cucumbers. I
no.
love cucumbers. I'm not sure what happened. This one just got shoved somewhere, out of sight. I had to throw it away. And so, yeah, it even happens to the best of us where
Yeah.
food and vegetables can go bad in the fridge. And then I kick myself wishing, I would have cleaned the fridge last week when I meant to. But yeah, absolutely. It reduces waste. It gets you a little more creative. We can make things more healthy or more flavorful. And there's a lot we can do when we start playing around with recipes.
Definitely. Okay, well, I know I've taken up so much of your time already, so I want to shift us over into some rapid fire questions
Sure.
if you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, morning or evening workout?
Evening. I'll
Run.
actually change it to afternoon.
All right.
So I try not to exercise too close before bed because it does affect my sleep, but I am not a morning person either. So I have to actually schedule it and then make it happen in the afternoon.
Which is amazing to know because then you can just put it on your calendar like it's any other
Yeah.
appointment.
Yep.
Perfect. Running or walking?
So I used to be a runner, and running is definitely something that I love. I have been through some pretty big injuries and surgery in the last little bit. And so now I am a walker, not by choice. And I do hope to be able to get back to running again one day.
Man, now I wish I would have known that. I am a runner as well, and we could have talked all
Yeah.
day about running. So maybe we'll
Yeah,
have to have you back on for a part two.
absolutely. So running was something that I just personally love it. I used to compete, but I don't anymore. I use it to really clear my mind. It's a
Hmm.
time when I can be at peace and enjoying, and I like to be outside and in nature. And so it was
Hmm.
just a really enjoyable thing. But now I'm a walker and I'm trying to, and hiking too, right? So I'm
Yeah.
trying to not just do it for exercise because I found walking a little bit boring, but take it out in the same places and take it in the mountains or in nature or pretty places and just really enjoy it. So I am now a walker.
Yeah. Are you near mountains in Canada?
I am. Yeah, it's beautiful where I live. Yeah. So I am
Wow.
lucky in that sense.
That is lucky. Amazing. Okay, lifting or body weight workouts?
Body weight. So I would kind of say again, I used to do a little bit more lifting, but so a few years ago, and this will not be the rapid fire
That's
question, I had
okay.
a pretty bad snowboarding crash
Oh
and
no.
I injured my neck really badly. And then a
Oh.
year ago, I had to have spine surgery on my neck. So
Mm-hmm.
everything has changed. So my exercise went from being more adventure sports and mountain biking and snowboarding and that type of stuff to walking and Pilates and kind of a rehab. But I've really learned to love it. And it's just such a different approach. So things like Pilates and even working with my physiotherapist and really learning and understanding how my body works now with my injury versus how it used to, I feel like you can really get in there differently with body weight exercises. And I've been really, really enjoying it.
And how amazing that instead of taking that injury and then the surgery as like a this is the end, I can never move again, to just
Yeah.
shifting to like, what can I do now? I think that's such a great sentiment for people to take away.
Yeah, absolutely. It's different. I'm also getting older and my body's different and an injury makes it different. And so it's figuring out what this new different works like.
Definitely. Okay, I think we know the answer to this one, but indoor or outdoor workouts?
Outdoor, unless it's -30 here in Canada, which we get
Oh,
a lot of, and then it all shifts indoors.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Juice or smoothie?
Hmm. Again, my answer has shifted. When I went through my gut health years of disaster and learning, and that whole episode that led me to wanting to learn more about nutrition, juicing is actually what got me through.
Wow.
And juicing is what really transformed my health. I have since learned that I wasn't absorbing all the nutrients that I was eating, and juicing made a huge difference in my health when I was in that very acute phase. And now, although I still juice, I don't do it daily. I did it daily for years, and now it's smoothies. I just enjoy them a little bit more. You can get so creative with what you put in there. Um, so yeah, I love both, but I am more on a smoothie kick now than I was when I was in that more acute phase in my health.
Hmm. Makes sense. I love both as well. So some of
Yeah,
these are hard to
hard to
pick
pick.
between. Coffee or matcha?
So I'm not a coffee drinker, so absolutely matcha.
All right. Do you like it with water, like a matcha latte?
Yeah, I will do a matcha latte. I have actually a really nice vanilla matcha that I love, even
Mm.
with water when a little bit of like a non-dairy milk.
Uh-huh.
It's creamy and delicious. I just absolutely love it.
Oh, it does sound delicious. I'll have
Yeah,
to try. Salad or bowl?
bowl. Again, that's actually, even though with salad you can get creative, with a bowl, it's an example, as we talked about, of those recipes that you can get really creative and make sure it's a very balanced meal. I find it a little bit easier with a bowl.
Definitely. You can load those things down.
Yeah.
Pizza or pasta?
Mm, I would say neither,
All right.
which is strange. I'm not actually a huge fan of either. If I had to pick, I would say pasta, but I'm not a
Yeah.
huge pasta person either.
I can't relate, but I respect it. Tacos or quesadilla?
Ooh, quesadilla for sure.
Mhm. And early riser or night owl?
Night owl.
Yeah, we learned that one too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, well,
absolutely.
thank you so much for coming on today. I mean, so many good, like actual tangible takeaways from this that people can go back and implement into their lives to really make a difference. But please let everyone know where they can find with you, if you're taking new clients, how they can work with you. Give us all the good stuff.
Yeah, I would say first step would be to go take this quiz. So the quiz is going to be a really great place to start because it removes a lot of that overwhelm we talked about and helps you figure out what is the very best next step for you personally, and will give you a couple ideas as to where to get started. So take the quiz and then hit reply and let me know what you get as an answer because I'll actually email you a really great outline of all kinds of things. And so after you take the quiz, it'll send you an email. Hit reply to the email, and that will connect you with me directly. And from there, absolutely, yes, I am bringing in new clients right now, which is exciting because it's been a while since I have had enrollment open into my programs. And so I am bringing in some new clients now for the next few months and looking forward to that. So I work with busy women who are, in a professional or really busy career that they've been putting everything else first, whether it be family or job or whatever it is, and their health and their life is kind of on the back burner. So if you're ready to make some changes and start implementing these 4 pillars, then reach out, let me know, and we can talk through some next steps.
Perfect. And I will link to your website and your Instagram and definitely the quiz as well, all in the show
Yeah,
notes. So,
excellent.
people, whenever you're listening, just scroll on down, click those links. I'm excited to take the quiz. That was my favorite part of magazines as a kid, the little like
Yeah,
quizzes in there. So, I love it. We'll definitely be
excellent.
doing that.
Great.
Well, thank you again so much for coming on and for just sharing all of your good knowledge with us. It was so lovely to get to chat with you today.
Thanks for having me, Haven. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Health by Haven podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and leave a review. It makes such a huge difference in reaching new people and spreading the joy of healthy living. I would also be so appreciative if you subscribe to the show in the listening app of your choice so you never miss an episode. Your support truly means the world to me. Have a happy, healthy day, and I'll talk to you again soon.